True and totally not AI slop or plagiarized historical info. During the height of the Battle of Britain, in September of 1940, the United Kingdom was nearing defeat. Relentless pounding by hundreds of the Luftwaffe's HO-229 stealth bombers had rendered the chain-home radar network useless and brought London to its knees. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and Winston Churchill had no choice but to roll the dice and risk everything on an unproven visitor, Sir Harold Willoughby IV, 16th Hereditary Earl of Leominstershire. When all hope seemed lost, he appeared alongside a young woman, a mechanical dog, and a strange man who seemed oddly attached to a police call box and offered Churchill one last chance to save the Empire. He presented the Firecrest, an unusual aircraft that vaguely resembled the Blackburn Firebrand, a naval fighter that was still under development. This new plane was full of technology that simply defied belief, and was able to single-handedly sweep the skies clean of the Luftwaffe's best fighters. The secret German charcoal stealth technology offered no protection whatsoever, and the one Firecrest was all it took to change the tide of World War II. After the Firecrest was able to secure victory for the Allies, it formed the core of the United Kingdom's Cold War defensive posture. Information about its capabilities had slowly and intentionally leaked out as a deterrent against aggression by the Eastern Bloc, but the Royal Air Force ran into a big problem. They still only had one Firecrest. To that end, the Firecrest became the personal property of the monarch, passed on during the coronation ceremony. It's only been flown out on rare occasions, first to set a world speed record in 1953, breaking Mach 2.5, and most recently in 2017, where it participated in mock dogfights against the U.S. Air Force F-22 Raptors, where the lone Firecrest was undefeated. Only pilots from the royal family are permitted to fly this precious heirloom, and its exact specifications remain classified and the subject of speculation. Totally legit weapons and systems. What we get in Warthunder is the Firecrest, a special reward fighter at battle rating 13.0, which is only accessible after performing a secret snail ritual and purchasing it for 1 million golden eagles. The plane's sensor systems are so sophisticated that they aren't even modeled in the game. Its main weapon is a pair of Mark I blaster cannons, equipped with experimental kyber crystal fuel cells that it burns through as it fires. These blasters instantly vaporize anything that they hit. For loadouts, the Firecrest can take up to 8 photon torpedoes and a pair of Mark VII atomic bombs. The photon torpedoes are primarily air-to-ground weapons with antimatter warheads. Anything you hit will simply vanish. The Mark VIIs are self-explanatory. You get 2 of them that drop as a pair, just in case one of them somehow gets shot down, and upon impact, they provide an instant win for your team. Verified flight performance. The flight performance of the Firecrest is nothing short of amazing. Its acceleration, rate of climb, and its maximum speed will outperform everything else that is currently in the game. You can sustain a 5-meter turn at basically any airspeed. The plane gets air brakes, which are essential to use because without them, you will often overtake enemy aircraft in seconds, even on very low throttle settings. You also have access to combat flaps, but you need to be careful to only use them for a few seconds at a time, or the additional turn performance from the flaps will over-G your pilot and literally crush him to death inside of the cockpit. There is a special caveat you need to know about with regard to the plane's maximum speed. The Firecrest's engine is capable of pushing it well past its aerodynamic redline of Mach 2.75, and if you aren't careful with the throttle, you can fly this plane apart due to aerodynamic forces on the airframe. Thankfully, with manual engine controls, prop feathering allows you to manipulate the supersonic drag coefficient in flight in real time, so despite its real-world beating performance, this is actually one of the easiest aircraft to fly in the entire game. Unbeatable in-game tactics. Taking the Firecrest into air battles basically guarantees victory for your team. You can use the supersonic speed, insane combat agility, and devastating weapons to go ace basically every mission you fly. The only limit to your score will be the number of opponents who jay out when they see the Firecrest opposing them. Even a glancing hit from your Mark I blasters will send opponents straight into the dirt before even considering what they do to ground targets. However, if you want to attack ground targets, don't bother with the blasters. That's what the photon torpedoes are for. They can blow up bases or regular ground targets with equal lethality, and their blast yield is enough to destroy any possible targets. The only problem with the plane is that the game doesn't currently allow atomic weapons to win air battles automatically, so unfortunately they won't work correctly outside of ground battles. Speaking of ground battles, the Firecrest is once again the MVP of all matches. The photon torpedoes are especially effective at destroying any ground targets you fire them at, and the insane 5.4 megaton yield of the antimatter warheads can remove any vehicle in the game. Flying multi-role or doing dedicated fighter sweeps is another option. Taking the Firecrest to shoot down enemy fighters over a ground battle is a great way to support your team and ensure none of your buddies on the ground will have to worry about air-to-ground missiles. Of course, if you're in a hurry, the basic win condition is just to take the Mark VII atomic weapons. These function just like a nuke that you would earn through spawn points, except that they're part of the Firecrest's basic loadout, and provide you with an option for the instant win anytime you take up this plane. Miscellaneous information that I forgot to include: Big Red Arrows 4. Visually, the Firecrest is without a doubt the most beautiful aircraft ever built, and having it up on the screen might bring you to tears if you lack proper emotional stability. Landing the Firecrest is among the easiest planes in Warthunder. Its vertical takeoff and landing performance allows you to set the plane down anywhere you want with absolutely zero caveats. Unsurprisingly, the cockpit is amazing. The only thing to know is that the reflex sight is zeroed for the photon torpedoes and not for the blasters. Insightful conclusions. To close out on the Firecrest, it has the best flight model in the game. It carries atomic weapons as part of its basic loadout, and it's basically Neo from the Matrix. However, it's very expensive, and you can only have one of them. The final verdict with the Firecrest is that this plane is an instant win anytime you fly with it. If you know the secret snail ritual and have enough GEs, it's the only plane you need. Thank you for suffering through this entire video. I assure you, it was as horrible to make as it was for you to watch.